space, a virtual escape. Guess you could.
Hello everyone, we're back, and it is 2023, and I'm already behind posting schedule, but that's okay. We're gonna jump right into it anyways. If you are new here, my name is Megan. I quit my job in corporate America to travel more, and that is exactly what this video is gonna be about. We're gonna be talking about how 2023 is the year for solo travel. We're gonna go through tips, how to plan, maybe safety regulations that I recommend, and mistakes to avoid, because I made a bunch of mistakes on my first solo travels last year, and if possible, we're gonna avoid them in the future. So let's get started. So let's dive into it. So like, what's the first thing you do when you plan a trip? You budget, or at least I do. When I was moving to France, I created a budget. It was a very loose budget because I knew I was gonna go over if I kept it realistic, so I always kind of budget up instead, so when I spend as much as I do, I don't feel bad, because I was like, it was in the budget. But being able to kind of list out how much you want to spend on where you're staying, how much you're spending for food, how much you have to spend for experiences, so that way you can kind of look into see what you want to do, so you can be like, oh, like if I'm going to Australia, like I want to skydive and scuba dive while I'm there, you can budget that into the plan, and that way you know you have the money to do that, and you don't have to second guess yourself whether, oh, do I really want to spend that much when I get there? Like, you have it planned out, so you're good to go. So budgeting is great help. It also helps with finding hotels, restaurants. It kind of forces you to eat at more local restaurants, in my opinion, because if you budget for food and you don't want to spend so much at an expensive restaurant that's like famous and worldwide, like touristy kind of place, you find like a little mom and pop shop, and it's usually cheaper and the food's 10 times better. So when you're first starting your solo trip, definitely budget. And then this one, my next kind of advice is like, can be flip-flopped. So you could also figure out where you want to go first and research it. Obviously, if you have a budget, you can pick where you want to go off your budget, what's more expensive, what's cheaper, that whole thing. But you could also pick where you want to go first and then budget around that. But I stand by and emphasize how much research you need to do before you go to a country, or honestly a city, for so many reasons. So for example, I'm a woman. I'm not going to go to a country where I don't feel safe, so I will research places, countries, cities, whatever. Is it safe for a woman to be there alone? If you're a person of color, you would want to research, is this country safe for people of color? If you're part of the LGBTQ community, you want to make sure where you're going, you're not only going to have a good time, but you are being as safe as possible, and you know you're going to be welcomed, which, as awful as it sounds that you have to do that because not everyone is welcoming, it is definitely an important part in solo travel, because you don't have anyone to kind of back you up. Not yet. When you make friends there, you will, but like, you don't have anyone to back you up, and so you want to make sure that you're as safe as possible before you even step foot onto the plane or into the car to where you're going. So yeah, and also that can also help with finding experiences that you want to do. It can help you give you an idea of how much you want to budget depending on what city you're going to. So it kind of just all, those two tips group in together, and they're very, very helpful. And yeah, so those are how I usually start looking at my solo trip. And then once everything is budgeted, planned, you start booking things, you get to the worst part, in my opinion, which is packing. Packing. If you're like me, you somehow both underpack and overpack at the same time. What I mean by that is, will I pack 50 coats where I'll only wear one? Yes. Will I forget to pack socks as well and underpack on that? Yes, I will. So my biggest tip, obviously you can buy things while you're there, but my biggest tip when packing is make a list. Make a list of everything you need and go based off that list. I always forget my contacts when I travel, so I literally put a notification on my phone, remember contacts, because for some reason my site isn't that important to me. But I always now make sure to have a notification on my phone. My sister will text me to make sure I brought them. Like, I need reminder after reminder. So having a list or a visual aid to help me pack, very helpful. And that kind of what I just said, overpacking, underpacking, it helps to avoid those situations. And when I say avoid overpacking on a solo trip, I mean it. My best advice for packing for a solo trip is you want to only bring the amount of stuff you can carry by yourself. Because if you need help from someone else, you're either going to get robbed, you're just going to get stressed because you can't carry all your stuff, and it's just going to take out the fun of it. Like, I had a friend who brought so many bags on like her little solo trip. Granted, she was there for a decent amount of time, but I was like, if you can't get all these bags to the airport by yourself, don't bring them. Don't bring them. And even better than that, if you're going for a short-term trip, a carry-on, one carry-on, all you need. I will link the bags that I use for carry-ons in the description below. They're amazing. They're so spacious. And then on top of my carry-on bag, I have packing cubes, which I'll also put in the description below. Lifesavers. I have like one packing cube is like this big. I fit like 6 dresses in it. It was life-changing. And it's so easy to keep your bag organized with these packing cubes. So highly recommend getting a good carry-on bag where you only need one, and a good little stash of packing cubes because they help with organization immensely. And then on top of your packing cubes, you know what you need to do? Get basics. When I was traveling, I would bring so many basics. I brought black t-shirts, white t-shirts, gray t-shirts, black pants, white pants, gray pants, jeans, like blue jeans. I had a black dress that I wore to so many events. I wore it to the Moulin Rouge, I wore it to the ballet, I wore it on a date, I wore it out to a picnic with my friends. It was just so versatile, and it was amazing. And I only had to bring the one. So, well, I obviously didn't bring the one, but like, it was the one that if I didn't bring any other dress, that would be the one I would bring because it could be used in many situations. So what you want to do, obviously, if you're going to a beach, you don't need a nice dress to go to a ballet in. So don't bring one. Just know the location you're going and pack basics and things that you can reuse and mix and match while you're there, and that will definitely help with the overpacking problem. It is like life-changing to actually try to not overpack and doing it successfully. Okay, so now after packing, you're ready to go on the trip. And a big thing with solo traveling and going out on your own is safety. I know I don't get that nervous. This is probably worse. I have zero regards for my own safety. I like to do things for fun. I'm really bad at like being one of those people that are like, do it for the plot. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'll do it for the plot. And then I like send my parents into like heart attack mode, but they're fine. But safety, I have a bunch of safety tips that I think are super helpful when solo traveling. And my first one, I'm gonna say it, if you are traveling outside of the country in which you're living in, look to get a phone plan for the country. One great thing is now a lot of phone companies will do eSIMs, so you don't have to go to a store and get a physical SIM card and take yours out and switch it. You can get an eSIM and it basically does the same job all online, and your phone will be able to use. You can get service, you can get data, whatever plan you like. I've seen plans for up to like 15 days, so 2 weeks, for like 20 bucks, and you get like 7 gigabytes of data and then like unlimited calls or whatever. Definitely recommend those. It'll have service. If you ever get lost, you'll have service. You're never gonna have to worry about making phone calls if you don't know where you are. It's a great idea. Don't forget though, this is important. Major importance. Don't forget to have your phone company unlock your phone before you leave so that you can use another company's service. So if you have Verizon, before you go on your trip to like France or Spain, call Verizon and be like, hey, I'm going to France. I'm going to use a SIM card while I'm over there. Can you unlock my phone so that it works? And they'll be like, sure. And then you switch when you get back, and it's as simple as that, and it is amazing. So definitely look into getting a phone plan. You'll be able to keep in contact with your parents. Luckily, if you're, or siblings or friends or whoever you need to keep in contact with, your guardians, I don't know, whoever you need to keep in contact with, you can. That being said, also, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, at least with iPhones, you're able to FaceTime and text anyways, so that's also very beneficial. But with the SIM card, you will not have to look for a place with Wi-Fi. Number 2 for safety. I think this is like very generic, but don't look out of place, as dumb as that sounds. So I said earlier, dress like a local to an extent, obviously, but you're less likely to be bothered if you look like you belong there. If you're in France and you're wearing one of those plaid outfits, like, you look super cute, and I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying if you're wearing that plaid outfit, the people who are going around stealing people's bags and phones are gonna know you're a tourist. And they're more likely to scam you or take your stuff without you knowing. So when I travel, I kind of research like what they look like, or I dress as simple as possible, so that way I'm not being bothered. I've ended up in places where I probably shouldn't be, but I just keep my head held high. I have the outfit, like the clothes I'm wearing aren't completely out of place. It's usually just jeans and a top or like a coat and stuff. But I act like I know where I'm going, and that allows for me to be, one, I'm 100% more confident even if I have no idea where I'm going. Fake it till you make it. And 2, like, no one gives me a second look. But if you're out of place and you're like, do you know where to go? And like, I'm not saying don't ask for directions, because that's not bad. And I'm not saying you're gonna like get in these situations. I'm just stupid and get myself in these situations. I'm just saying be aware and make sure you're not completely out of place so that you don't make yourself a target. And then kind of going off of that, I have an iPhone and I also have an Apple Watch. One of the greatest things I ever did when I was going to places where I needed directions but didn't want to constantly look at my phone, and I was like, turn left. Like, I didn't want to look at my phone. Like I just said, I didn't want to look out of place. I got the directions sent to my watch, so like if I needed to turn, my watch would get notified and I would be like, okay, I gotta turn left here, but it looked like I was just checking the time. So I highly recommend that if you have a Apple products. I don't know what other like watches or like phones do that. I'm assuming Androids have like similar accessories that do stuff like that, is work. So definitely do that. Or even just like with your AirPod or headphone, put it in your ear and have it speak the directions to you. That way you're not looking at your phone, you're not looking like you don't know where you're going, and once again, it doesn't make you a target to those not so great people in the areas you are that are looking to take your stuff or harm you, as bad as that sounds. I was in Europe for many times by myself, many different places, never had a problem in my experience, and these are just systems that helped. And one thing also that always worked for me is I stayed near public transport. So when I was living in France, I lived right next to a train station, which was great because the distance between my apartment and said station, 2-minute walk. I didn't feel like I had to wander very far to get to public transportation or places I needed to be. When I got off the train, I knew no one was gonna be like following me. I never was nervous, even at night. I was just knew how close I was, and I was never kind of like, oh, that's a far walk, should I do it? It was more of like, get off the train, 2 minutes, not even, I'm at my apartment. And I know that's not always feasible, especially in the United States where our public transportation systems suck. But if you have the opportunity to stay somewhere near public transportation, by yourself, if you're staying in a hostel, hotel, Airbnb, whatever, and there's a train station that is less than maybe a 5-minute walk from where you are, I highly recommend spending maybe a little extra money, or yeah, a little extra money but for a train station or a bus stop that stops right outside your apartment. That way, when you are traveling at night, or honestly after like a long day, it is also great. You don't have to go far to be into your safe location. So those are a bunch of my safety tips. Hopefully they help. We're gonna move on to the next topic, which is making friends. So if you're anything like me, I suck at making friends. All my current friends that I've met through college or through traveling, I think they've all reached out to me, which is awful, but I'm very socially awkward. I don't do well making friends. And so when I was solo traveling, I got really nervous, and like for the first 2 weeks, I was like, this is awful. I was like, I have no one to hang out with, to talk to. Like I could FaceTime my friends, my family, but with like the time differences and work and stuff, it was just a pain in the ass. So how do I go about making friends while you solo travel? I'll tell you. Number one, stay in hostels. Hostels are one of the best places to meet people because you're sharing a room with them. Like, usually you can break it up between like boy rooms, girl rooms, or whatever gender room you're comfortable with. Like, they have different options for that. So you can make friends that in those rooms you're staying in. And then they usually have hangout spaces, I guess is what you call it. They have like community spaces where you can go to meet people. Hey, like, oh, you're getting dinner, do you want to come? It's super, super easy and I highly recommend it. A bunch of my friends that I know travel alone, we swear by hostels. And I know what you're thinking. Hostels are gross, they're yucky, they smell bad. They don't. Use Hostel World, find a good one. They have good reviews, read the reviews, trust your gut. If it looks sketchy, it probably is, but find a good one, obviously, before you go. My second advice for making friends is Bumble BFF. This is how I made 95% of my friends when I travel alone. It is amazing because you can meet someone. It's like it's the dating app, obviously, but I'm not a dating app person. But it's nice to kind of have a conversation with someone before you actually have to go and meet them. Friend-wise, obviously. So, friend-wise, it was great. I met a few of my good friends off of here. I still talk to them and stuff. So yeah, definitely recommend Bumble BFF. And then I also recommend Facebook groups. I'm a part of Lonely Traveler Facebook group, which is a lot of females that, or women or girls or whoever, I don't know who's in it. It's a lot of girls. Traveling alone, I've met up with a few people off there. It's like you just post in the group, hey, I'm gonna be in like Prague March 15th through the 18th, anyone else is gonna be there. People will comment and be like, oh, I'll be there, we should meet up for dinner, or I won't be there then, but I'll be in like France if you're gonna be there. My camera just died, so that's gonna be an awkward cut. But Facebook groups, throw in when you're gonna be somewhere and you can meet a few people. I met a few people up for dinner. You know, we did the follow on Instagram. We always hype each other up now. It's a great way to build a community. So I'm gonna talk about some miscellaneous things. Starting with traveler's insurance. I highly recommend getting traveler's insurance. Some countries I think require it. I think Japan requires it. I don't know what else does. But definitely recommend it, especially if you're going for long periods of time. I used, I think it's like travelerinsurance.com. I'll link it in the description below when I was traveling to find insurances. But it's super, super beneficial because you never know what can happen. And it's definitely always better to be on the safe side than sorry. So recommend traveler's insurance. Next, credit cards and cash. I obviously highly recommend getting a traveler's credit card. That way you can get the bonus points, so when you go on your next trip you can use the miles and whatever and whatnot. Besides the point. But I always recommend taking out cash. I know certain places, such as like, at least when I was in Spain and Greece as well, a lot of the cabs or taxis are cash only. So I definitely recommend it. Always have cash on it. I wouldn't take too much out because you don't want to be walking around with $1,000. Always get like a fanny pack or something, like wear it in the front of you so no one can like steal it out of your wallet. But definitely always recommend taking out some sort of cash to the country you're going in and getting a credit card that allows you to rack up points, and there's no international fees as well. I have a Capital One credit card. And when I was traveling, I didn't get charged an extra fee or anything, which was amazing because who likes fees? Absolutely no one. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it for like solo traveling. It's like the basic rundown of like how to go about it, what to do. I highly recommend it. For me and for many other people that I know have done it, it is a very empowering thing. Taking guts to step outside your comfort zone with other people is already a big thing, but doing it alone requires so much confidence and so much self-empowerment that I really think everyone who's done it should just give themselves like a pat on the back, and they deserve an award. It is terrifying, it is stressful, it is scary when you first get into it, but it gives you such a feeling of empowerment, and it really does kind of shape who you are as a person. It allows you to begin taking bigger risks in life, and it allows you to just grow overall as a person. And what is 2023 for if not to grow? Thank you for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful in helping you figure out whether solo traveling is for you, or if you need little tips and tricks. And like, it is life-changing experience, and I hope this was helpful in getting you on the right path. I can't speak. Hopefully this was good and helpful for you getting on the right path. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hopefully in 2023 I'll keep making videos that are super beneficial to all of you watching and entertaining. I want to do more advice videos, so leave comments down below if you want to hear anything specific, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and do all that. I'll see you next time because I'm forgetting how to talk now. Goodbye.